So welcome to our series on commonly asked questions on Google. So these are just things that we've typed into the search engine and seen, what people's questions are. So welcome everybody. This one is on black soldier fly. So we type that in. We've got a question. The first one is, are black soldier fly maggots? And well, how can I answer that? So black soldier fly are the adult maggots, so when they're ready to reproduce, but the maggots themselves are sort of the young phase. There's a life cycle which I can show you here. So it starts off with eggs. This is a bit faded now, and then they go into maggots and they turn into flies, they reproduce and they go back. So it's a cycle. So that's the answer to that question. How do you make the maggots? Well, again, it's in the cycle. So the flies will lay eggs, and then those eggs will hatch, and then it turns into maggots, and then they just grow and grow. Eventually they turn into pupa, which of course then turn into flies. They hatch out. How do you get rid of them? Well, that's an interesting question. How do you get rid of black soldier fly? Well, the maggots, they don't like the sunlight, and they can drown as well. So you'll see we've got a bay here. You can see them poking out, but actually we've just uncovered them. So normally you won't be able to see them because they're hiding under the surface. To get rid of the flies, well, adult flies are actually not, I wouldn't say they're a problem because they're really easy to catch. They don't fly much like the house fly would, common fly that you would know. They don't fly much. You can catch them very easily just in your hand, and they only last, they can't eat, so they can drink, so you need to make sure they've got water. But once they've laid their eggs and will reproduce, the males will reproduce, they die, females lay their eggs and then they die. So you can kill them like any other fly, use a swatter or DEET or one of those spray things, but they're not really that, I don't think they're that offensive, they're not that nasty because they don't buzz around as much. The price, well, that's a good question. So the eggs here in Uganda, you basically buy them, 1 gram is around 5,000 shillings. That's sort of the price. However, we're selling hatchlings, so hatched larvae, because we find that farmers do better with those. Because with the eggs, we've got a basin of eggs there. Can you see them? Sorry, in the basin there. That's on the cardboards. They're going to hatch out at some point, but farmers can sometimes get that wrong, and then they don't get a very poor hatching rate. So we actually sell the larvae, and we would sell them slightly more. It's around the same sort of price, but we add a little bit more extra onto that. But it depends entirely on where you're getting them from and who's supplying them. But we try to be competitive, and we take into account what the price of animal feed is, and then we cost that accordingly, so that when you're buying your hatchlings, you get your kilogram, and it makes sure it's not too expensive. It doesn't cost as much as McKinney, say, which is a dried fish popular protein product, and that's the type of thing that we would typically sort of replace as a protein source. How many eggs can one fly lay? Well, that varies again, but it's between, say, 500 to 2,500 eggs in a clutch, and it depends, but we're aiming for around 2,000 eggs in a clutch. Are they harmful? It's a good question. So we are in East Africa. Flies are endemic. That means they're native to this part of the world. So we're quite fortunate in that sense, because we can actually get black soldier fly from the wild if we needed to. But what we actually do is we started this from another colony, and we've built up our own colony. Are they harmful? Not really, no. I mean, the maggots, they're just eating organic waste, and they'll eat anything. The flies, like I say, they can't eat, they don't sting, they're very weak flyers, so they're not that difficult. And if you see some of our videos, you see, we catch them very easily in our hands, and they can't sting, so they don't hurt you. And then the life cycle, what's the life cycle of a black soldier fly? Again, I think we showed that at the beginning of this video, so we can finish off with that question. And basically, you get eggs, then after about 5 days, depending on temperature, here they take 7 days because it's a bit colder, they hatch out into hatchlings, and then it takes about between, again depending on conditions, but between 10 to 50 days, let's say, well, not 50 days, we rarely get that, but say about maybe 3 weeks to grow up, and they start to turn to pupa. So after 3 weeks, you can harvest them if you want the white grubs. So that you can see them in the substrate. They've gone down a bit. After about a week, they will then turn into. Oh, thanks, Pauson. I was just uncovering them a bit more so we can see. After about a week, they go from pre-pupa to pupa. So that is when they stop moving around and they're basically dormant. They're ready to hatch out. And then after about 2 weeks or so, they'll emerge as flies. And then flies, typically, when they mate, they die, but they're normally around for 4 or 5 days. And then they will die, and then they lay the eggs, and we continue the cycle. So that's the life cycle of the black soldier fly. Or you can see them really moving around now. Let me zoom in a bit, and I'll finish with that. So those are some of the commonly asked questions about black soldier fly. Hope that helps you, and do subscribe to our channel, and we'll put more information up there. As we always do, we like to share that information. So hope you've enjoyed this video, and see you next time.